All right. Hello, superhero friends, and welcome to the late night comic book read. I'm your host for this evening, Jessica Cruz, Green Lantern. So even if you're not familiar with who Jessica Cruz is, we have a really special read today, one that I had been planning on doing for a long time, but I guess I just never got around to it. So we're going to do it today. I finally got my ish together. Locations, all that kind of stuff is moving. So we're doing a really, we're doing Blackest Night tonight. So that's going to be a really interesting read because Geoff John, who wrote this story, also wrote Doomsday Clock. And so there's a lot of interesting stuff to talk about as it comes to the Green Lantern lore and the core and all that kind of good stuff. So I hope you're all wonderful tonight, and happy long weekend, Easter weekend. But you know what? Also, like, I remember watching like the Ten Commandments on TV, usually around Easter long weekend, you know, with Yul Brynner and let my people go, all that kind of stuff. But so it's storytelling around this time, I think, is an appropriate thing to be doing. So we're going to be reading. I'll show you guys the story. And I almost forgot to mirror, so I hope you guys are well. Let me just do this. There. Let me see. Can you write Blackest Night? Okay, so I originally had a digital copy of this I was going to do, but I was like, you know what? We'll do this standard. So we're going to read Blackest Night. I think it is a fitting read considering I know it's technically Saturday, but I meant to do this read on Good Friday because Blackest Night kind of deals with the same themes of, like, you know, always darkest before the dawn, this whole idea of going through the darkness, what that means to find inner light, to find the power of the light, as well as we're going to talk a little bit about the emotional spectrum, so the power battery, the lore behind what makes the Green Lantern's power rings work. There's also like some conspiracy involved with the Guardians and the Lanterns and all that kind of fun stuff. So Sex Cop Studios, I actually love your name. Oh, thank you, Will. So I'm playing as Jessica Cruz. Jessica Cruz is the first female Green Lantern of Sector 2814. There's a few sectors in the Green Lantern lore universe. I'm going to put my gloves on as well. So I was reading this in the bath before I got on the live. Actually, we played Halo first. Me and Hubby. I was like, you know what? Let's play Halo first before I get ready for my live as Green Lantern. And I've meant to do Blackest Night for a while. I can't. If we were to read this whole thing from cover to end, we would probably be here till the morning light. So I'm not going to do that. We're going to do instead a little bit more of an analysis. So class, my superhero class, comic book class. Who is this diva? I wouldn't call myself a diva. I would say that I'm just here to embody a lot of the characters that inspired me growing up when I was a kid. And so now that I'm all grown up, I'm going to be sharing some of these stories with you because there are so many Green Lanterns out, not Green Lanterns, there's so many comic books out there, rather. So I would say you could spend a lot of time going through comic books and reading them, but I will say this, I don't love all the comic books I read, right? And, like, you know, no different than when I go to the library and I pick up, hi, Pokey, oh, not yours. I'm going to put that one. I like that one. I can't sleep in peace now. What do you mean, Pokey? Yeah, we're going to do a bedtime read, so your eyes are all going to be able to go to sleep. Blackest Night is a bit of an intense read, but we're going to go through it because it's important. And so, you know, like, we're Good Friday, right? And then, like, on Sunday, we have, like, this concept of resurrection. And so Blackest Night is... If you guys are not familiar, I think someone mentioned something about the Green Lantern earlier. Will, I love Green Lantern, had lots of comics from when a kid. Yeah, so do you have a favorite Green Lantern, Will? Do you guys, do you have a favorite Green Lantern? My favorite Green Lantern is Hal Jordan, and in this story, you'll actually see why. Oh, thank you. These two are like some of my favorites. So it took me a long while to put on my monocle, if you can kind of see. So it's like the left eye empowerment kind of thing. So we're going to read Blackest Night. I'm going to not go from the beginning. I'll give you guys a bit of a synopsis of some of the stories because we will be here for a very long time. And I want to get through some of the main themes of the story. Okay. Oh, thanks, Pokey. I appreciate that. I'm also interested in collaborating with other cosplayers because, just like I said, there's a lot of comics out there. And so I'm actually working on a Star Sapphire cosplay. There are cosplays out there that, I should put it this way, cosplay is like a work of art, or form of art. Because if you think about even how different illustrators with talking books, so I'm working on an AM radio station. That's a whole thing to talk about, oh my gosh, a little bit later. I grew up in the 80s, not the 80s, I was born in the 80s, I grew up in the 90s. But that being said, I still had a lot of animated shows that I do take a lot of my comic book lore from. However, there is something about reading a real comic book. And I will, how should I put it? My hubby is more into like movie adaptations of things. And I totally get it because I read this, when did I take this out? A while ago from the library. And I read it through once. And I thought I got it, and then I read it again, and I was like, I honestly didn't remember some of this stuff happening. Did I skip that in my head? So I will say that, like, I've read certain comic books, I would say dozens of times, and each time is completely different. As well, Jules, I've got a full Miles Morales cosplay. That's awesome. I'm working on a Spider-Gwen one because I love all of Spidey's ladies. I have a big crush on I have a Black Cat Felicia Hardy cosplay, as well as I'm working on a Mary Jane one. So, hey, oh my gosh, I'm trying to see. Oh, bat. Just the bat, the symbol. I like that, you guys. So, TikTok has been really fun for me to get my show going, right? Because when I first started doing lives, I was like, what am I even going to really talk about, right? And I encourage all of you guys. Spider-Gwen is 100% saying Miles Morales. Do I want a galaxy? I would love a galaxy. Dating. Oh yeah, oh my gosh. We can get into all of Spidey's girls in just a moment. And I will say as well, Hal Jordan in the Green Lanterns actually has a similar... Okay, we'll get into the love part in a second. And I feel like my tripod is like doing something really messed up here. So let me just reframe it, and then we're just gonna get right into the read. Because I meant to start like hours ago because I knew this read was gonna take a while, and then I was like, I got all like perfectionist about my eye makeup and was like, oh my gosh, it's not actually completely perfect. What the heck? So when I do my makeup, I'm very like, when I draw, actually I'll show you guys let me show some of my sketches. My other ones aren't here, but I have my little Renegade radio and my anime drawings of like music is the key. And I like drawing as divination. I actually drew my bestie, the Flash. Yeah, I draw. I wouldn't consider myself an illustrator. I'm friends with some really amazing drawers, but I draw more as for my own mental health because I love pretty anime girls. Should I? I do. Yeah, I draw. I love drawing anime eyes. Anime eyes are super fun, but I also love drawing dragons. So there's that. Oh, and this girl, like, also glasses, that kind of thing. Yeah, so I do draw. Yes. Oh, I'm so happy you love that. So let's get into why I love Green Lantern, and then we'll get into Blackest Night, because Blackest Night, and did you guys know that Geoff John, who wrote Blackest Night, also wrote Doomsday Clock, which is the crossover between the DC universe and the Watchmen universe, right? So it's kind of a... Oh, thank you. You guys are really, really sweet. I will tell you this. I'm not going to get into too much of like my past life stuff, but it took me a long time to think of myself as like a pretty girl, right? Or to be beautiful, because I was like such a tomboy growing up. I had a lot of guy friends, and like I was always friends with pretty girls, but like I never thought of myself as it. So I'm like, thanks guys, I appreciate that. And yeah, I welcome all of you guys to step into, you know, doing the thing that your inner child calls you to do, even if people thinks that, you know, there's nothing wrong with being a tomboy, but like, it's one of those things where like I was also like a girly girl tomboy, because like I played video games, but I love getting my nails done, and so, but that's all I say, like, you are you, like, oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought when I was trying to say something inspirational to you guys, but it's all just about, only you are going to like the things that you like, right? Whatever flavor, like, actually, that's a fun thing to ask you guys. What's your favorite flavor of ice cream, right? So I have a Gemini moon, so my favorite flavor of ice cream changes a lot, but let's say today, I'm going to say my favorite flavor of ice cream is bubble gum. You know, like when you go to like the ice cream store, you can get like all of those flavors. Was there a state? Oh, Madison. Okay. Let's. Oh, black cherry. That's a good pick. I saw also like pralines and cream. That's a good one. Anything with like crunchies inside the ice cream, little surprises. Or like tiger, but like tiger is technically black licorice. I don't really like black licorice most times. Vanilla's good, Pokey. Vanilla's an awesome flavor because you can add that to anything. Like I love if you get like frozen dragon fruit and vanilla ice cream and you mash the frozen dragon fruit into the vanilla ice cream, it's literally delicious. I love chip mint. Oh, mint chip. Oh my gosh, I love mint chip. Neapolitan. You know what? I would always just eat one flavor of the Neapolitan ice cream whenever my mom would get that. You ever do that where like, I'm just going to eat all the strawberry, I'm going to eat all of the vanilla, I'm going to eat all of the... I was like, but then what's the point of buying Neapolitan? Isn't the point that you get all three? I don't know. So green lanterns, you guys, I think mint is best for sure. I like mint too. And speaking of being green, right? Mint is part of that whole green love. I also loved how mint chip looked, right? When you eat with your eyes. Just the chocolate. Chocolate's good too. Chocolate is a good flavor. I also think chocolate, when you do mushies, I feel like chocolate and mushrooms go together. Chocolate also, fun nerdy fact, contain something called anandamide in it, and anandamide is known as facilitating bliss. And who doesn't like bliss? And speaking of bliss and other emotions, I'm originally from Winnipeg, Manitoba. I'm from the prairies, but I moved out here to Toronto in 2006 or so. So I've been here in Toronto for a long time, but I'm making the move to get out of the big city because I'm an author, I write, I draw, I'm an artist, but I spent a lot of time in the corporate world here. So I worked for 10 years as a project manager in downtown Toronto. I worked for like diabetes applications. I worked for a lot of pharmaceutical companies such as Novartis and Eli Lilly through agencies, as well as KPMG and the hospital. So I worked, like, I did the corporate gig. I was like a global relationship manager for like 137 countries at some point. So I did also realize what's actually important in life, and that is doing what your heart says to do. And that's not necessarily the easiest thing to do in this realm. And so what I did was I went back to comic books, right? I went back to the stories that I loved. Oh, thanks, Willa Thrilla. Okay, have a good night then, Ohio Death Squad. I do watch movies, Pokey, but just that theater is not... I can only have it for 3 hours at a time, so depending on like what movie it is and setup and all that kind of stuff, I would rather be, you know, comfy and laying down. So we're going, oh yes, Manitoba, I almost missed that. I think there's something about the prairie provinces though, there's something, I'm biased, of course, but being in the city for as long as I have been now, and comparing it to, like, I wouldn't trade my childhood for anything, right? You know, your friends like doing donuts in your driveway, or like picking you up, and like I just miss getting into my car and driving wherever. And like I miss, you know, driving in the city or at night at like 3 a.m. And I guess you could do that here in the city too, but driving hasn't been as it's just been such craziness with traffic and stuff in Toronto. So let's just get into the read. I'll talk about Green Lantern generally as we go. And Blackest Night is essentially a big prophecy story. So the Green Lanterns have, actually, let's just get into it. They give some synopsis in it. I'm going to hope that I can keep, so there's different lantern rings, if you guys didn't know, as well. Green Lanterns actually represent will, but there's also fear, avarice. I kept on calling the Orange Lanterns green, but I suppose that they're, like, it's a bit more nuanced and complex than that. Red is rage, and I don't know if you guys know that Supergirl at some point in time does take on or has a red lantern ring. We've got hope, put this here, hope, as well as compassion, which is indigo, love, the star sapphires, which I love, but that'll be a fun thing to talk about as well, and death, the Black Lantern. So the cover of Blackest Night is my foam wall. That is crazy. Oh, so I came upon Blackest Night because I'm working on my own comic book, and my comic book deals with time travel and multi-dimensions, as well as this concept of your power crystals and transformation. Now, comic books and any kind of fantasy story, science fiction, anything like that, it's always going to have parameters as like how things work. So I'll give you an example. To explain Flash's powers, for example, actually that's a good way to flip into it. I love this too because I love the dynamics and relationship dynamics between different superheroes and their powers, right? Because, oh, Tasman, thank you. Thank you. In this, Martian Manhunter has passed, and I'm just going to jump into it, just like it's a dream, but we'll get into, this is really, I really love the illustrations here as well. It actually, who did this? Doug Mahoney? Oh my gosh, I hope I didn't mispronounce your name, Doug. And I do also love, from a comic book perspective, and this is just from my love of comic books in general as a medium by which to tell a story. I gotta leave, no worries. Have a good one. The arc between the Hawks is peak. Yes, Gyros. The Hawks have some juicy intel with Egyptian mythology. And also, I have Moon Knight. I have a Moon Knight comic book. That's Marvel, but that's gonna be a little bit later on. Maybe this weekend. We'll see. Oh, thanks, Carl. You guys are very sweet. Okay. I'm just trying to make sure that you guys get the best view of the book because it actually has some gorgeous images, even though some of it is darker. Well, it is Blackest Night, right? Okay, that's better. Okay. All right, guys. Are you ready for the late night read? Hawk and Dove. Oh my gosh. Hawk and Dove. I love Dove. Dove was in my comic book, The Death of Oracle, where if you guys... Spoiler alert, Batgirl is Oracle. And I'm also Batgirl. But, oh my gosh, hold on, let me just fix my hair because usually my hair is in a wig, right? As you guys know. But this is like my real hair. So you can see the remnants of the blonde that I used to do back in the day. But I've since just like given my hair a break, and I was like, you know what, I can just do wigs where I don't need to actually bleach my hair out and do it. But Hawk and Dove are pretty cool. I'm not quite sure about how they get their powers, gyros. So if you know any more intel about that, I just know that Dove is like the embodiment of peace and Hawk is the embodiment of war. I think. And they both are part of the birds of prey. Makes sense though, right? They're both birds. Okay, so let's go into it. We've got two of my faves, actually. The Flash. I love you, Barry. I still love you. And Hal Jordan. That's right. They're friends, right? How come they don't do that in live action more? Build up those relationships. I will recommend you guys, if you want to watch an animated movie, and I think I will do a watch party on Discord, is Crisis on Infinite Earths, which came out last year in 2024. Why was I going to call it 2004? That's crazy. Halo came out in 2004, if you guys... Halo 2, rather. That's how I'm dating myself right now. But what is time, anyways? The Flash. We the North. Oh, the Flash. Yay. Who's your favorite Flash? We the North. Is it Barry? Barry's my favorite, but Wally West has kind of grown on me quite a bit. I have a really... We'll talk about Flash a little bit later. I've been working on a custom cosplay for my hubby is the Flash, but the Flash is cool too because there's different versions of the Flash. Yes, Barry Allen. Oh, I'm a cool auntie. Yes. I do have a niece who's into this kind of stuff, and I have a sister who does cosplay as well. So stay tuned this summer for a lot more like collaborations as we play a little more in quantum play. Ah, thank you. Of Hyper Crisis. Oh, let's not go off on a tangent. The crisis conversation we will have very soon. Okay, and I'm not going to fuck with this microphone too much because I keep on meddling with things instead of and you know what? I can't tell you how many times I meant to read this story to you and it never happened, right? So I've focused on my divination. I was like, I feel like tonight's a good night to talk about Blackest Night. So oh, this is a better idea. Maybe I can go here and read it this way and be closer to the mic. All right, let's see here. Chachi said a bad word. I was a teenager during Halo 2. Halo 2 has a lot of nostalgia in it for me, and I'll always remember LAN parties in the basement with my friends playing Xbox, so it's got a lot of... Whenever you revisit a story you visited before, whenever you visit a universe, it's like visiting an old friend, or you get to go visit back in it. I was 5 in 2004. Oh, you're a baby! 2004. I was born in 85, so... What was it? I was 14 in 1999, 15. Yeah, I was in high school. I was graduating, going to university. Facebook was starting to become a thing back then. Oh my gosh. So if I'm putting this here, I'm just going to tilt this way. Oh my gosh. You know, getting the framing on this stuff is not easy. And then also, too, the fact that I have like a billion different things, that doesn't help. Okay, let's do it. Gotham City. My name is Hal Jordan. I'm an officer of the Green Lantern Corps Space Sector 2814. Guy in Red is one of my closest friends, Barry Allen. So see, they're close friends. 85 Knight Rider. Hey, we the North. What? 85. There's something about being born on the 5 and the O, and we're going to talk about that tomorrow because we end up with a Pluto square, and that's a very intense thing to deal with in your life, but we got this. That's the thing about superheroes, like you're called to be a certain archetype, and that's what you are, right? So okay, the guy in red is one of my closest friends, Barry Allen, the fastest man alive, the Flash. We're both cops. I guess you could call him the good one. And so this is pretty dark here, you guys. So hopefully TikTok doesn't restrict me because of like, what do you want to call it? Mature content, whatever. But let me fill you in up until this point, actually. I actually read this, I think, earlier on today. So there's some dark images, so hopefully TikTok's okay with it. But the Black Lantern is essentially death. Right, so the absence of light and life, where all the other rings are representing different parts of the, I think how the electro, I call it electromagnetic, but it's not that. It's the emotional spectrum. And it's happy Superman Day. Hey, Cavs Collectible Spot. They bring up Superman a lot in here, but nice to see. Oh my gosh, I ran into a snafu putting together Starfire, but I'm going to save that for a later story. But the Black Lantern has basically gone around. There's a guardian. It looks like there's some black goo involved as well. I love this cover too, right? And the guardians, they're kind of explaining here that they take advantage of someone. I do know this, of course. So they've basically resurrected everyone who has died in the DC universe in this timeline. Okay, so what the Black Lantern has done, or the Black Hand, who has become like this embodiment and herald of the Black Lantern Corps, has basically taken the skull of Bruce Wayne. Kind of dark and nefarious, but that's what Barry and Hal are looking at right now. And Barry says they took Bruce's skull, and now they're investigating now, because both of them are, as I said, like cops in their regular life. Although I thought Hal was a fighter pilot. Was he a cop? Anyways, I'll keep that. Why would someone take Bruce's skull? I think the questions we should answer first are, who knew that he was buried here? Because the person who took Bruce's skull would have had to know that Bruce was Batman. And I also think, I guess, in the events of this story, Bruce Wayne / Batman has passed. And who knew that Bruce was Batman? Let me back up a bit. Oh my gosh. And thanks you guys for joining. We're reading Blackest Night as Green Lantern. And who knew that Bruce was Batman? Ra's al Ghul. I'm trying to make sure there's no glare here, and so you guys can see that. Ra's al Ghul and his daughter, the Red Hood. Anyone else, you would have to ask Dick, meaning Dick Grayson / Nightwing. I actually should have done Batgirl. Oh, not Batgirl. I should have done Supergirl today. But Supergirl's coming back tomorrow, don't worry. As well as April O'Neil. And I have The Last Ronin for that read as well. Dun dun dun. Okay. I still don't get why you don't do more to protect your identity. This new Lantern, so Hal Jordan's like the initial Green Lantern in these storylines, but Kyle Rayner, who's actually a comic book illustrator too, which is kind of cool, he's another Green Lantern as well. And so Barry is kind of like ragging on Hal a bit about the whole secret identity thing, saying, I still don't get why you don't do more to protect your identity. This new Lantern, Kyle, his mask covers most of his face. Smart kid. Clark hides behind a pair of glasses. See, talking about Superman, he's like, okay, you're saying that like, oh look, Kyle Rayner, he's covering most of his mask, because not all the Green Lanterns wear masks either, right? That's the cool thing about the Lanterns. Like Jon Stewart doesn't wear a mask. But Hal says back to Barry, he's like, okay, listen, Clark hides behind a pair of glasses, and you're worried about me? Barry retorts back, Clark slouches. He wears clothes 2 sizes too big, and he raises his voice an octave. So that's something to compete, because I know you guys have talked about this before, about how like, how come people don't know that Clark Kent isn't Superman? And that's the thing, like he puts on an act in order to play Clark Kent. He, as Barry says, wears clothes that are too big, slouches, changes his whole demeanor. And I don't think people realize, like, even when I put on different characters, the vibe for Batgirl, the vibe for Jessica Cruz, the vibe for Cortana, the vibe for the different characters, there's a different energy signature involved in that. And that even includes what the alter ego is, right? Because, for example, Batgirl, her alter ego is Barbara Gordon, right? Depending on the universe, unless you're looking at the Burton universe and it's Alicia Silverstone, right? And those are going to have different essences to them. So, okay, so Clark slouches, wears clothes 2 sizes too big, and he raises his voice an octave. And I'll never understand how he got Lois Lane that way. That's true, because Clark Kent won over Lois Lane before Lois Lane knew that Clark Kent was Superman, right? I'll never understand how he got Lois Lane that way. And then Barry's like, hey, some women are into introspective guys. And Barry's right, that's true. And then Hal's like, okay, what, you mean like Iris? And Barry says, yes, like Iris. I love Iris, by the way. Iris is Barry's girlfriend, and she's such a ride or die girl. I love her. She's like ultimate wifey material. And I think one of the other flashes says that, like, if you're going to be the girlfriend of like a superhero, you need to be like made of iron, right? Because of course you need to be tough. Like, you need to be that support, right? And Barry says a lot of the time, like, a world wouldn't be worth saving unless Iris was in it. And there's a truth to all of that. Okay, so like Iris, what do I keep hearing? The geeks are taking over the world. Oh God, you started reading the internet, didn't you? And stopped too slow. And then Barry's looking at something. I got something. What is it? It's some kind of black residue, and it's coagulating. I think it's blood. Hal, Barry, let's see here. What does it say? Ma aleka andra. Whatever that says. And then you shouldn't be back. So remember I told you guys before, The Martian, well, I watched the new Superman movie when it comes out. I heard there's going to be distribution issues due to the fact that Joe Shuster, who is actually from Toronto, where I'm in right now. And it's funny because one of my good friends that we do some of the Cosmic Room sets, he lives on Joe Shuster Way. So I look at that as like a little nod from the universe of like, yeah, I know. But I heard that his estate was trying to block some of the distribution of the new Superman movie. But I will watch it. I always have hope of the superhero movies embodying the stories that I love so much in the comic books. However, I am not, I'm more than happy to go revisit animated movies again if need be. But I hear good things. I hear good things, so I will watch it. Oreos. Okay, so speaking of John Johns, who is a Martian Manhunter, he's been, oh my gosh, I'm not using the right grammar for this, but he's been risen from the dead, but like zombified, right? And then he says to him in his zombie voice, you both should be dead. John, you're here. Ring, identify, scanning. What happened to you? Do you need help? Will, hope. And so it's interesting here that they already have Barry as like the Blue Lantern, because, you know, they have the different characters in the DC universe each end up being part of, like, I guess you call them like the relief crew, because you have the whole war of light. So all the lanterns are going to go to war against each other. And you end up with Barry Allen taking on the Blue Lantern ring, which makes sense because I feel like that. Let's see here. How do I feel about the next? I think it's okay. I don't know what story they're doing. That's the thing. I think it's All-Star Superman, which originally was written by Grant Morrison, and I like Grant Morrison as a writer, but they've done, like, DC, like, when they've brought a lot of these characters to life, a lot of them lack the nuance that you kind of need with a lot of them, and they kind of went too quickly into an ensemble crew. And I think Superman still deserves, like, I would prefer watching Smallville again, I guess. I don't know, I'm open to watching it. I hope it's good, right? I always hope these things are good. I love going to the movies. I love being wowed and amazed and having, like, you know, the hair stand up on the back of my head and get like tingles. I love that. So I hope it's good. That's all I hope for. And I heard Lois Lane is being Smallville is amazing, right? And I loved Kristen Krug, Lana Lang, and it gets into all, like, the different relationships behind, like, Clark Kent and, like, the nuance of all that. So you're back. Hello, welcome back. Let's keep going. Yes, and the Smallville was amazing. And the dynamic between Lex and Clark in Smallville, I think was just like the nuance behind it, because it's not as easy. And I think comic books show this a lot. It's not as easy as being like, oh, bad guy and good guy, hero and villain. It's like Batman can be really manipulative, right? So there's I met most of the cast. Did you really, Patty Mac? That's awesome. Oh, hey, Master Seth. Patty Mac, do you have a favorite actor that you met, or like character, like, because sometimes you meet people. So famous people that I have met, let's see. I got to be in the same room as Patrick Swayze when he was filming his last film in Winnipeg. Not in Winnipeg, but in Gimli, around there. And I love Patrick Swayze. Dirty Dancing, R.I.P. Patrick, you're amazing. I also got to be in the club with Paul Walker way back in the day, who's also passed too. I love Paul Walker. Oh, no, Master Seth, I will go check that out. Behind the scenes clip from DC today. I will go check that out. My gosh, my hair is doing craziness. Okay, let's keep going with it. So I'm reading tonight. I'm going to do a quick hair flip. 1 second, guys. Ta-da. Because my hair is just... Oh, that's perfect timing. I just had to, because like my hair... okay, actually, here, I'll give you guys a fun story about my hairline when I was born. So, I was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, right? But I was born 3 weeks late and by emergency C-section. So, my birthday is actually April 24th. It's coming up. But I was born, like, really late. Like, I meant to come in as a Taurus, right? And that's very Taurus-y. And my hairline... They had to shave my head when I came out because since I was born so late, they thought that I had brain damage, because I think like I was like 6 weeks, almost like a month over. Like I was like, I'm not coming out of the womb. I'm just going to stay in here, right? So realistically, it's like I knew I wanted to come into this world as a Taurus, or like a certain sense of like womb memory around that. But my hairline's all messed up just because like when I came out, they shaved my head and they administered antibiotics directly into my head. So there's that. I was 9 months. Wow, Patty Mac. Yeah, there's something about emergency C-section, right? I think there's an Astro story. I'll jump. Oh, thank you. I've learned how to work with it. And that's the thing though, these things that, and also too, you guys, I grew up thinking like my lips were too big, and now women all get Botox to get like lip injections, and I'm like, listen, I was teased in school for having huge lips, and like, what a weird thing. you know, so it's just one of those things, you gotta just be you, right? Because like no one else is gonna be you, and you gotta just like work with what you got, because what sometimes seems like a curse is actually a gift, and it's just a matter of perspective. And I think you could say that about superpowers or talents or a lot of things that can happen in our lives, right? Synchronicities. I don't think there are any coincidences, to be honest. It's a matter of just, you know, if you miss the bus, maybe you were meant to miss the bus, and then you met the girl that you were supposed to meet and get married to, right? Like the way that like the reality works is this strange thing where like we're the dreamers of it, but we're also like part of the wave. It's a dance between the two things. And what I've realized is that in these stories of comic books, like you really feel like you get to know these characters. And oh, West Coast Crypto, thank you. I do think that going back to talking about the ice cream flavors, no one can tell you what your favorite flavor of ice cream is. Like if I was like, well, your flavor, it's got to be chocolate. And you're like, no, it's not. I was, no, it's chocolate. I know you. Like, but you don't, like, you can't tell me that though. Your favorite can be your favorite, and you have the right to change your mind, right? And you also have the right to, like, you know, have it be your favorite, but maybe not eat ice cream all the time, right? So all this is to say that, like, your favorite characters, your favorite stories, all of your favorites, what you love, those are very important. And it's also, taken me a long time since I'm turning 40, you guys, right? So it's taken me a long time to finally sift through like, oh, these are my dreams and these are the dreams that people had for me, right? Like dreams that your parents have for you, dreams that, you know, your siblings have for you, your friends have you. And a lot of people do like have good intentions. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not like your parents, let's say, wanting something good for you, wanting you to be a doctor, wanting you to have a good life is something that like they don't realize. Like if you're meant to be an artist, you're like, oh, this is hurting me in some sort of way, right? But it's just a matter of just sifting out in your own self what dreams are truly yours, and what's yours is yours, and to own that, take responsibility for it, and realize that there are those out there who want to help you, right? Yeah, 9085. Yes, there's something special about 85 too, you guys. I'm doing it's interesting how TikTok has I've managed to meet people who have like been on my exact same birth date, like April 24th and 1985. Like I'm biased obviously because I was born in that time, but I welcome all of you guys to use your birth time as intel, right? Less of like this horoscopy way of looking at things, but more about like, okay, what songs were hits when I was born, right? What music was I maybe conceived to? What were the stars doing in the sky when I came into this world and I took my first breath? I was born on Super Bowl Sunday. That's interesting. And I mean, the Super Bowl, like if you think about it, is like a really huge ritual. If you think like there's a lot of attention to it. So there's something, that's a very powerful time to be born as well, Patty. There's more to it than that, but let's continue. I have Barbara Streisand's birthday. I don't know what that means. Well, all right, let's continue on. We've got Martian Manhunter has been risen from the dead due to the Black Lantern ring, right? So they're both like, what the heck is going on? And what is, like, you're supposed to, like, what happened to you? Do you need help? And so Hal's using his Green Lantern ring to scan him to see what's going on. Scanning complete. Geoff John, aka the Martian Manhunter, founding member of the Justice League of America, last survivor of the Green Martian race. And he says to him, his face is all like, he's been dead. He was in a tomb. He was like risen from the dead to the Black Hand guy. And he says, I realize my appearance may be disturbing. And so he tries to put on some skin. But if this form, the form I met humanity halfway with, is less discomforting, vital signs, negative. Ooh, he's not alive. He's a zombie. Oh, hi, Mai. Oh, thank you. And thank you for joining the team. Welcome to Cosplay Comic Books. We're doing a Green Lantern read. I'm Jessica Cruz. I'm reading Blackest Night, right? Even though I'm not in this comic book, I love Hal Jordan. And you kind of notice a lot of ladies love Hal Jordan. Fun fact about Supergirl. Supergirl went on a date with Nightwing. That's in a comic book somewhere I need to source. But it's funny because apparently on that date, Supergirl talks about how much she thinks Hal Jordan is cute, which Nightwing takes as a little bit of as like an offense. He's like, oh my gosh. But maybe it's because Hal Jordan is really cute because he's badass. I like him too. Okay, Hal. So Hal tries to attack the zombie Geoff John's Martian Manhunter with his ring by giving the, will punch, crunch. And Barry's like, what are you doing? And Hal's like, well, according to my ring, Geoff Johns is dead. And Barry's like, well, so what are you saying? Hey, meditation cat. I don't know what I'm saying yet, but you heard John. He's not asking for cookies and milk. Ring, where'd he? Zoom. So without a second to think about it, the Black Lantern ring is like hitting back at them. And of course, Barry's very sweet, right? I can see why he got the Ring of Hope, because he's like, isn't he still our friend? He's like, he's not alive though. So Hal makes a very quick decision on that. And then now he's being choked out by the guy. Nook, don't worry, Hal. You were my friends. I have come back to help you. Well, you don't sound like you're helping. You sound like you're just trying to take over things, let's just say. Oh, Patty Max, thank you. Yay, that goes out to Aquaman and Atlantis. And I'm working on a D&D campaign based on my book called The Dragon Warriors Battle for Mount Olympus. And I'll get into that a little bit later, but thank you for that, Patty Mac. It's fun. Yay! It was part of my gift goal too. So, and I also have cranes as part of my gift goals, because 1,000 paper cranes, and you make a wish, and I do origami as well. So I showed you guys a bit of my drawings, but I'm a Taurus, right? So Taurus is a lot of like tactile, feeling things out. That's why I like having a real book, turning the real pages. Wait, am I dreaming here? No, of course not. I do so many things at once. Meditation cat. That's been the most difficult part for me in terms of like organizing myself, because like this, like learning about all the different superheroes and like these stories have helped me also understand the multiverse, right? Because movies as a medium, bless them, they're amazing, but it does a lot of the work for you. Comic books, you stitch together the connection between the panels, right? They're basically like storyboards for movies if you really think about it. Speaking of which, let's continue on. And you can illustrate stylistically stuff that you can't, like if you were trying to do that in live action, video games can get away with it as well, but if you're trying to present something like this as like real and like Soberland, it can kind of come off as almost like cheesy, which is why I like anime so much, is because you can then stylistically, or how 300 did it, or Sin City, where it's very stylized even though it's live action, because you're aware of like the source material also being illustrative, right? So that's just my opinion. And so I hope that even with this new Superman movie, that you don't need to make things realistic to make things real and true. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't need to like look like a documentary or too polished or too clean and all that kind of stuff. Okay, Barry, you had your chance to embrace the Speed Force, to become a part of Nirvana, but you ran away from it. How would it make you feel to leave Iris and Wally behind again? Fear. And you, Hal, after everything you did, if you died at the right time, you would have gone straight to hell. But you no longer subject yourself to guilt or anger over Parallax, do you? Your heart is full of willpower again. Let me see. So he grabs his heart to check, and it makes this sizzling sound. And that's why I love Hal Jordan, because he had to face the embodiment of fear, which was Parallax. And they didn't do that in the movie. In the movie, they just made Parallax just like some monster. Also, Ryan Reynolds is not Hal Jordan. That is a miscast so much. Like I don't know if you guys have ever seen any of those YouTube clips of like when fighter jet pilots, like they take the G, or they're doing tests to like withstand G-force, and their faces get all messed up. But that it makes sense to me that like why fighter jet pilots would make good superhero candidates, right? So because you're training your body to withstand that amount of G-force, and so that takes like your mind muscle connection training. It's why I love going to the gym and stuff. It's like this way of honing your body so that it is worthy, it is capable of holding specific energy signatures. Why the ring, the Green Lantern ring, will choose certain people. Like in Jessica Cruz's case, if you go on my YouTube, I think you can find a past episode that I did, which was like, I did like a whole expose of like Jessica Cruz is pretty much like a final girl in horror movies, right? Like her backstory is that she goes on this like camping trip with her friends, and her friends get murdered and buried like by this like crazy guy, and she survives it, right? And she ends up first getting like this ring of fear, like the Volthoom ring, right? But she ends up transmuting that fear and becoming worthy of holding a Green Lantern ring of willpower, right? So there's a lot of cool intel there in that story about what it means to take fear, something that it's not about not being afraid, right? Like, I was such a shy kid growing up, you guys, so shy, but I also craved being on stage, right? I craved like performing, but like, you know, like that stage fright before you like go up on stage, there's like this feeling of like intense anxiety, but excitement, but you, like just that feeling of stepping out behind the curtain, even though you're scared, and you do it anyways. And I get the fear ring for that, because there's a lot of power in taking that, like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared right now, and being like, all right, I'm going to take that energy and I'm going to reconfigure it into something that is going to work, right, for me and what my goals are. And you can't be afraid forever, trust me. All right, so Barry runs off. I don't know where he's going here. He says, oh yeah, he's there to go catch Hal, because basically this Black Lantern guy grabbed Hal's heart chakra chest and like is now pulling at it. He's like, let me see if you're still afraid, huh? So Barry rushes to get him and grabs him in midair. That's why it helps to have good friends who are superheroes. So grabs Hal. Parallax. I beat Parallax. Hal, get it together. The Flash doesn't fly. Remember I said different superhero powers. He's like, so Hal, you better figure it out, because I caught you, but I don't know how to fly, bud. And thanks for that, X, as well. It helps when I like reiterate these stories. I don't always get it right. Remember, all of these retellings of stories, we're always going to add our own spin and version on it. It doesn't make it untrue. It just means like that's like your version on it. However, I always like to know more intel about different things. I love these lives so much because I can think I know a story so well, but you guys will always bring up something new that I didn't know before, and I can take that back and add it to it. Yes, your interpretation of it, your analysis of it, like no different. This is like English literature class. This is like what I used to do in school. You take a piece of work, and you can talk about things like how much the author has jurisdiction over that work, or how much that work stands on its own, as well as like just the symbols in it. And Green Lantern itself, look at these beautiful glyphs too, right? There's so much chock full in them, right? And I do think the Green Lantern glyph looks a lot like Libra, so like the scales of balance. And in Astro, Libra splits the chart. We'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow when I'm not in cosplay, when we talk about Astro in the morning, but let's just continue on. Enough rambling. So they fall through, I forget what they fall through here. It looks like they fall through the subway. Or no, they fall through a fire station. There we go. You okay? I saw he's wearing a black ring and a symbol. Like yours? Yeah. And then the Flash is like, well, since when are there different colors? We got more to catch up on than I thought. Salak, do you read me? I've got, I think it's a code 1313. An unidentified power ring. Guy? Kyle? Is anyone there? Remember, Mogo is also a sentient planet, which is the homeworld of the Green Lantern Corps. I read a story, it was so good, where like, Mogo's sentient, right? So Mogo helps Supergirl out when she's trying to escape. I'm jumping to a different story, but Mogo helps Supergirl out in escaping Mogo because she's trying to find out. There's a conspiracy, right? And it kind of gets into this a little bit in Blackest Night, because the Guardians, not to be confused with the Guardians of the Galaxy from Marvel, but the Guardians in the Green Lantern universe or in the DC universe are like the bosses of the Green Lantern Corps. West Coast Crypto, the comic is called Blackest Night. So in the Green Lantern universe, you know what? Let me just read something that explains it a little bit more succinctly. Oh my gosh. I've been having such technical difficulties with some of my laptop, my PC, and connecting to the internet. So crazy. Hey Pikachu, thank you. Pika Pika. Oh, Ryan Reynolds was not a good Green Lantern. Ryan Reynolds was Van Wilder, but Hal Jordan needed someone like Ryan Reynolds would have been better as the Flash, I think, because Barry has more of that levity to him, right? Hal Jordan, yes, he's funny, and the Green Lanterns all like rag on each other and they have that kind of like bro humor with each other. Oh my gosh, it's doing it again. Wow. I don't know. I think something's up with like my PC. But anyways, it's all just to say that this is prophesized. There's supposed to be a war, like a war between all the different lights, or rather all the different rings in the emotional spectrum. I have another comic book called Godhead, which talks a little bit about like the life equation and the death equation and like the central power battery and all of that. But it's all to say that the Guardians themselves, they have like a nefarious kind of past, right? So it's kind of like Supergirl says to Hal, like, what will you do if you find out that your bosses, the Guardians, are the ones who actually killed Krypton? I didn't finish my story about Mogo. Mogo helps Supergirl out because Mogo has empathy for Supergirl because Supergirl has lost Krypton. And her big motivation is to find out who really killed Krypton and why and all that, right? So Mogo has empathy for her because Mogo is a planet. So he can empathize for those who are... And it's something to be said for us too, like living on planet Earth. Like, the Earth is not just like this dead thing, right? We are part of the Earth. We live within the Earth. We're in the Earth's atmosphere. We're not like just like walking on top of it. We're part of her. So there's a level of like truth within that when we think about like sentient planets and what that would actually means. TikTok. Oh yes. Yes. I have April O'Neil tomorrow to talk about that. I have The Last Ronin, you guys. So that'll be a good read tomorrow. The Cosmic News Flash, Channel 6 News. And you'll also notice here too, like Lois Lane is a news anchor. Iris West, who is Barry's girlfriend, is a news anchor as well, right? So it's this idea of storytelling, and those who tell the stories rule the world, to quote Terence McKenna, and those who tell the stories rule society, to quote Plato. So it's this level of like, who is controlling the narrative, right? And when we're talking about comic books, the beauty of them is that just like hieroglyphics, you can actually encode more than just the words. You have full-on art pieces. Each panel literally is a piece of art that has symbols in it. The way things are colored, the way things are shaded, the way like the bubbles are working, the way the dialogue is, even the text in the dialogue. All of these have extra symbolic meaning to them than, like, I love books, right? But books don't have that as part of their medium, right? Like, no different how when you watch a movie, the soundtrack is actually so important to that movie, right? The sound design, how, like, the layering of all of it. Like Nolan, for example, he loves to have his background music be freaking loud and you can't hear the dialogue. I don't know if that's on purpose, but all of that stuff influences by which you're like interfacing with that story, right? And yes, West Coast Crypto, we are part of the planet. Yes. I have such a strong connection to Mother Earth. Like, I think anyone who is a Taurus or Earth signs, right? If you're a Taurus, a Virgo, or a Capricorn, you're gonna have a little extra, like, and if you have placements there, you're gonna attention. But I mean, we are all human beings. We are kings and queens of the kingdom of Earth, right? You are my brothers and sisters of this planet. We are stewards. We are guardians of this planet. We're not owning, ruling over, telling all that kind of stuff. It's all that. Aquarius. Hey. Oh, I love my Aquariuses. So smart. So intelligent. Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio, and Leo are all fixed signs, though. And I did a video about fixed signs as having a warrior called to them, because it's like the pillars of things, an immovable object, like the ones who like hold the line, that kind of situation. Yeah. So it's been so interesting to me. Like, if you all like Green Lantern, right? I had this conversation with a friend of mine. She reads comic books too, and I've had her on the show a few times. She's like, does anyone actually like reading Green Lantern comics? I looked at her and I was like, are you... what? Well, I have other friend of mine who, like, she loves the Fantastic Four comics because they were a gift from her father. So these are all different. Like, I don't personally feel the need to go out and read a bunch of Fantastic Four comic books unless they're crossovers with other things, right? So Green Lantern, I was not interested in Green Lantern all through my teens. Like, I love Supergirl, I love the Birds of Prey, Batgirl, DC, love it. But Green Lantern, they're okay. And then I read Green Lantern comic books. I actually understood the story, the lore, the Guardians, the OA, like the prophecy, right? The Blackest Night, which then leads Harold's brightest day, right? So I love symbolism, and oh yes, Flash. So let's just continue on. I'm going to go for another 15 minutes and then we'll wrap here, and we'll continue this on. Make sure that you are subscribed and join my Discord server as well, because any of like the analysis, especially stuff with more spicy topics, because like later on things start to get really hectic, and TikTok loves to restrict me for that kind of stuff, even when I'm like, it's like, maybe it's the comic book dialogue, I don't know what it is. Oh, thanks, Conjura. It's my Jessica Cruz Green Lantern Core Activate. I'm making my own Green Lantern ring as well, and we can talk about green crystals. And in the chakra system, interestingly enough, green is actually love. And I'm not going to get into that just yet. We're going to talk about lantern lore. Yeah, perfect. Thanks for that. So much more to come. I have many different characters, and I've been working on having them play with each other a bit more. Okay. So we have more to catch up than I thought, and they're now in a fire stations. So they're basically saying that the communications back to the rest of the core are out. So communications on OA are out. Do you think it's connected? I know it is. And I'm betting John isn't the only one wearing a black ring. Well, we need to restrain him. We need fire, and a lot of it. Well, it's not exactly the place to find it, because they're in a fire station looking for fire. Thoom. What the hell is that? John knocking on the front door. I don't know. It's interesting though, right? Because Batman's dead in this, and so is Martian Manhunter. So I wonder what happened prior to the events of this story, actually. And John's down here saying, I'm as powerful as Superman. Why does everyone forget that? Sounds like a little bit of an ego there, Martian Manhunter. And then back on OA, these little blue guys, they're the Guardians. They're like the bosses of the Green Lantern Corps. And it turns out like one of them seems to have black goo, corrupted, some sort of bad guy thing happening, right? So let's see here. Citadel of the Guardians. Power levels at 0.75%. And you can see the other Guardians surround him with like the goo coming out of their heads, and they're asking him, Guardian, why? Basically, why have you betrayed us? But really, it seems like it's like a cosmic kind of parasite, spiritual, psychic kind of parasite. You know those things where like mind controls you? Yeah, it seems like that. Why are you betraying us? And he looks at him, look at how messed up he looks, like, betraying you? I am simply carrying out the mission that we began together billions of years ago. I am bringing order to the universe. The Manhunters failed. The Green Lantern Corps failed. I know, it's like, it's such a bad guy thing, right? I'm bringing order to the universe. Even Star Wars, that's like the Empire's line. You know, I just need some order. Like, you just want to control everything. Right? So it's just, it's that, you know. All right, so careful. John could be invisible. Then we move fast. So Green Lantern, I love this about the Green Lantern Corps as well, is that it's your imagination, right? Like, it is the power of will, but for example, Jon Stewart, Hal Jordan, Guy Gardner, and like, oh my gosh, Wally West, each of them with their Green Lantern rings, if they were going to choose to fly, they would probably choose something different. Like, you could do maybe a jet, maybe make yourself a mech suit, but it's all based on your own imagination and your own perspective, how that ring will interface you and create what you need to create. There's a tell there, I think, for like real life too, right? Are you good with the plan, Hal? I've seen other rings influence people before, Barry, like Carol and the star Sapphire. And this time, they're influencing the dead? Maybe we can reach John. Maybe we can trigger something in him so he can fight back. He's the strongest telepath on the planet. Well, what was his state of mind before he died? Was he still using his human guise out of Denver? Detective John Jones? What a name, right? I think so. Down here. The truth is, I didn't see much of John in the end. He left the League. He distanced himself. He felt more alien. Alien, says Barry. John wasn't alien. He was alienated. I love Barry. He's such a good guy, you guys. Like, he deserved a better actor than what they gave him, Ezra. Like, he deserved... So, don't worry, Barry, I got you. Thanks, West Coast Crypto. Appreciate that. So yeah, he was an alien. He was alienated, and I'm sure many of us can relate to that. That's why I love Kara Zor-El so much. I've definitely felt like an alien sometimes. Hal was the one who never flinched at the sight of a Martian. But you understood me, Barry. And I want you to understand me now. You can't outrun death. Not when it's me. I know it's you in there, John. Somewhere deep down. Remember, we used to talk shop. You know, cases. You were fascinated by what you never had on Mars. Law. Is that true? Well, I guess he's supposed to be the last of the green Martians, the little green men that are supposed to be on Mars. Oh, West Coast Crypto, thank you. I do love this story. So I thought I was going to get through much more of it this evening, but I'm glad you guys are here for this. And those of you who are new, welcome. I read comic books in cosplay. So any of the comic books I read, I typically try to cosplay as a character within that. I know as Jessica, I'm strictly speaking not in this story, but I am working on a Star Sapphire cosplay because I do love Hal Jordan very, very much. And actually, maybe that'll be where I get to, where I'll end it. Let's see. Love Hurts, because like, yeah, look at this panel. Look how gorgeous she is. Look at that. What an outfit. I don't even know how I'm gonna make that work, but I will figure out a way. Oh, Wes, thank you. So are you. Because how should I put this? I've been through a lot of stuff in my life, you guys, right? And in the end, I had, as you can see the mushies behind me, I had this breakthrough psychedelic experience. When was it now? It was like 2020. It was around then. Like, you know, like the whole dark night of the soul situation, right? And as I told you guys, I worked in corporate for a long time, but I no longer do. But like, that's all still part of you. But it's all just to say that I have always been motivated by just this idea that life is supposed to be like, we chose to come here. I don't know how else to tell you that other than like my own inner knowing of that. And just this idea that what we're in right now, this game of life, is meant to be a lot more fun. And I do think that there's many of you out there that know that these comic books, these stories, they seem so fantastical and magical and out there, but there's something really true about them. There's something really real about them. And it's a lot more real than what I'm seeing on the news today, right now. It's a lot more real than what they're presenting as reality right now, right? And I'm not saying to not pay attention to things that are influencing your community or your day-to-day life. Like, I live in the big city of Toronto. I do have to pay attention to certain things, or like, how am I even gonna get out of the city if you're gonna have a road closure here, right? I'm not saying that. I just mean that the stories that get to take up residence in your psyche. Where's Simon? Oh, I don't know. Actually, you know what? Let's continue on. I'm just saying the stories that get to take a residence up in your psyche, they matter. So just be aware that, like, to remember the ones that matter, right? Even with like songs and stuff, like, who cares? Like Halo, I'm playing Halo for literally like the millionth time because I just want to go back to that world again and revisit it. And I'll tell you, like, each time, even though I've played it a million times, stuff will still seem new. Yeah, I know. Where's the DJ at, right? Tomorrow we have some planned. We need to go live earlier just because my hubby needs his beauty sleep for the most part. And I need to wrap up too so I can get some as well, so I can actually be up to do the Astro show tomorrow. We'll continue this one. Let me see. I'm gonna continue on a few more pages. We'll get to the Star Sapphire panel and then we'll wrap for the evening. Okay, so Barry's trying to reach out to Martian Manhunter, who's been resurrected by the Black Power Ring, right? Aw, thank you. So, and then Justice. Oh no. Stop. Oh yeah, because remember, he's influencing his mind. So Barry is now fighting Hal. Hal's like, you gotta stop, bud. You're punching me. It's me. Justice? Ugh. For who? My wife and daughter? Myself? The man who orchestrated my murder still walks the streets. Half the league you know or knew is gone. Justice is dead, Barry. The rest of the universe is just about to catch up. And now we cut to John Stewart sitting on an asteroid, Space Sector 1313. And now remember, in the Green Lantern Corps, the space, the galaxy is divided up into sectors, right? So this is a different sector. And we've got, I think her name is Fatality. I forgot her real name. Star Sapphire. There's a lot of relationships between the Star Sapphires and the Green Lanterns. The next time you are among the remains of the Yaneshi, burying your grief over your wife beneath the weight of my homeworld, do what the Star Sapphire has enabled me to do. Forgive yourself, John Stewart. I am trying to... Flesh. What the hell? Oh, damn. Flesh. Zaneshi. Oh, thanks, James. Yeah, it's my Green Lantern cosplay to read Blackest Night, Green Lantern Corps, written by Geoff Johns, and illustrated by Doug Mackney. I hope I'm saying his last name right. Okay, and now, I actually like Sinestro. You know what? The best part of that Green Lantern movie with Ryan Reynolds and that awful mask was Mark Strong as Sinestro. Because Sinestro's like pink, right? He's supposed to be like, I forget the name of the race, what that alien race is, but like he's kind of pink, right? So it's like, it could have looked bad, but it looked great. And I like Mark Strong. So, so we're now in the next, comic books, right? Blackest Night is a series of comic books, so they have the different stories in here. So we just finished Only the Good Die Young. This next part is called Love Hurts. So I'm just going to read a couple pages from it, and then we'll wrap for this evening's read. And then I'll let you know, I'll straighten out the schedule just so that you guys know when to catch the rest of Blackest Night. I will say that I will probably have more of the analysis stuff behind, like, be subscribed to be able to do that, please. Because I'll probably keep some of the more spicier conversations behind that, as well as on Discord and stuff, because Discord won't get as mad at me for things like posting anything copyright, right? Oh, thank you. This is all my natural hair, right? So it's good, you know, even after all the destruction that the blonde had done previously. My favorite superhero, I would say, I love all of them, but a big favorite of mine is Supergirl. Like, Kara Zor-El, being Kryptonian, a lot of her story really, really resonates hard with me. We'll talk a bit more about that when we revisit Crisis and all the different crises, including Doomsday Clock, and this idea of, like, what happens when you remake the multiverse and, like, the rules around that and all that kind of stuff. Hey, Shay Hamilton, how's it going? Yeah, I'd go Superman. Yeah, but not so obvious, though, West Coast Crypto. Like, my sister's favorite is Superman, but, like, but my hubby's favorite is Batman. So I feel like there's a tell there. And I do love the Flash a lot. Like, so there's a tell there to where your favorites are, because what you resonate in those are things in you. So it's Batman just has a tongue. But it's why I love Batgirl, right? So the Bat family, the beauty of them is that they don't have powers, right? But they play ball with, like, cosmic forces, because we should not discount the ingenuity of being a human being, and, like, intelligence, and, like, what that all is all about. Because Batman, actually, I read a comic book where Superman angry is unstoppable. Yeah, and, like, that's why Doomsday Clock, which I don't know where I have it here somewhere. We'll look at that in comparison to this as well, because interestingly enough, the same writer wrote both those stories. And Superman wins against Dr. Manhattan because he presents him with another choice. Right? And there's this level of, like, if you're that archetype who you're meant to be good, and you're going to make the hard decisions, the hard moral decisions, because you're good and act as that beacon, yeah, it's a lot of pressure, but it's also a level of, like, if you're not going to be willing to do that, then who is? What's his favorite number? Let's see here. What's his favorite? Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm going to do a couple more pages and we will continue on. So, worlds will rise. And so you can see here that, I guess, considering that the Black Lantern ring is death, and it's basically raising the dead, if you had I'm trying to figure out, wait, your train of thought, Shay. Because I was like, do you mean Carl Jung? Because Carl Jung and the archetypes, oh my gosh, we could do such a fun session on Jungian psychology and comic books. Oof, yeah. Could be fun. All right. So, as I said, the Black Lantern rings, right? They are able to raise things from the dead. So if you consider if a whole planet has died, has become deceased, then perhaps the whole planet is resurrected as a zombie planet. And now we're at the panel. Oh, the Zamarons. Love conquers all, baby. But love, just like oxytocin as a hormone, right, can also be responsible for things like jealousy, right? Like possessiveness, all of the things, like the shadow side of these things. And so just like how willpower is related to things like order, you can have too much order, right? But you know, like the Star Sapphires, like they have done a lot of things. Like they're considered villains in a very technical sense in the DC universe, because she starts out pushing against the Green Lanterns, because it's like the emotions and how we are able to wield them as opposed to letting them just like take us over, right? So Zamaron, homeworld to the Star Sapphire core. What the hell am I doing here? Star Sapphire. Hal Jordan and Carol Ferris. We're not like Barry and Iris or Clark and Lois. Hal and I have broken up more times than he has charged his ring. But still, I find myself halfway across the universe, embracing an alien parasitic ring that's brainwashed me in the past. All because it told me that Hal would need my help. The last time Hal came to me for help, he was still possessed by Parallax. This time, the Zamarons want me to help heal the rift between the Green Lantern Corps and the Star Sapphires. They want the Guardians to embrace love again. They want everyone to. Free fear, free fear. So they're basically trying to convert, they're trying to convert all of the yellow sapphires, the yellow lanterns, into being love lanterns. But it's kind of like a brainwashing thing. And that's the thing about the Star Sapphire. It almost has this ability to take over the one who's wielding it. And you get this trope in a lot of movies as well, like the Rings of Power, like ultimate power, this ultimate power, right? And with ultimate power corrupts ultimately, right? And that's why things do have to come from a place of love. But love is very... the French, right, have all these different words for love. Like there's unrequited love. There's different levels of it. And I think, you know, like if two people love the same person, right, and someone doesn't love you back, it gets so much more complicated than I wish it was. You know, I guess if it wasn't complicated, it wouldn't be worth it, or things like that. Okay, easier said than done, Zamarons. My sapphires, we need your light at the conversion crisis. The rehabilitation of Sinestro's fear monsters remains incomplete. So they're trying to rehab all of the fear, or rather the Sinestro core, by putting them in this like cocoon to rehab them. And life without love is blasphemy. Warning, infection progressing within Sinestro 3599. Warning, infection progressing within Sinestro 2815. Carol Ferris of Earth, you serve the eternal heart that glows brightly within the central power battery. Ooh. You shine the light of the immortal love that was crystallized eons ago between the two unknown souls whose bodies were brought from Earth to Zamaron. So their power comes from these two lovers. It's supposed to be love that's crystallized into a power. And they brought this couple to Zamaron from Earth as, well, I mean, I guess their souls and that bodies and connection is like what powers the rings on some form. And then Carol says to the ring, for the last time, ring, stop trying to put me on autopilot. The ring keeps talking to Carol, telling her to open your heart to the Star Sapphire. Let me take you over. She is stronger than we could have ever hoped. She is the perfect sapphire to tame the predator. Unlike my yellow soldiers, I have no heart to conquer. Oh, then I won't bother. Love is in jeopardy. Queen Agapo, the being from Sector 2814. The human, Carol Ferris. She is still resisting the Star Sapphire's guiding heart. She acts of her own accord. As long as that accord leads the containment and the conversion of the Sinestro core, I remain unconcerned. But how is she? Carol Ferris has more experience than any of our other crusaders wielding the violet light of love. It appears that she has built up a resistance to its control. Warning, Sinestro Corps member 3599, unconverted. Chris Avora is reactivated. Carol. Oh, thanks, West Coast. Appreciate that. And then Sinestro gets out of his cocoon, not brainwashed, not taken over, and he says, "You're a long way from home." Warning, Sinestro Corps member 2815, unconverted. Warning, Sinestro Corps member 1771, unconverted. Sinestro. Oh, no worries. Oh, West Coast crypto. Oh my gosh. Love is a connection, but as I said, much more complicated. I'm trying to power through so I can actually finish a certain thing, but I'm looking at the time. It's 3:10. I'm going to call it. I'm going to continue the rest of this later. I will have the replays of these ready to go. And it is late. But you know what? I usually go late, you guys. I've been here since like until 4 a.m. with you guys sometimes. So the story is the story. That's why I try to go live a little earlier. But I guess that's part of divination too. Sometimes I don't realize, like, and then I get all into the story itself. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? Even though I've already read this. This gets really, really good. It's just like the artwork in here and everything is just gorgeous. So we will revisit Blackest Night. I will put that in my schedule. I will see, and also like, because the thing about Carol, she and the Star Sapphire, like in the past, she ends up being like brainwashed, does a bunch of like horrible things. James, thank you for the rose, by the way, roses. But she ends up learning how to wield love more responsibly. And I'll say it this way. I'll leave with a personal story. Or end with a personal story because, as you can see, I'm Green Lantern Corps tonight, Jessica Cruz. But there are other lanterns, right? You don't just have one emotion. All of us as human beings have fear, have will, have love, have greed, avarice, rage. All of these are part of, oh my dear Teddy, it's Halloween every day. Everyone's role-playing. When you go to work and you put on a suit and tie, you're role-playing. Like your prime minister, our prime minister is role-playing as prime minister, all that kind of stuff. So I welcome you guys to have a lot more fun with who you are choosing to play as in this game of life, right? And yes, as I said, like leaving off with a personal story of my own. So, yes. So, the Green Lantern Corps, to me, I found out about them when I was doing research on Supergirl. So I have a series by Supergirl. My very first comic book read that I did live was with my dog, Crypto / Wolfie. And we were doing Supergirl goes to Mogo to find out information. Because Mogo and the Green Lantern Corps, like, think of it as like, you know, a galactic sector cop, like, justice system, right? So they have a lot of data as well on everything in the sector. So Supergirl goes to Mogo to figure things out. But there's, of course, this cosmic conspiracy. Like, the Guardians, there's other things going on. So they actually rip out pages out of like the book of the OA because they don't want others to know the truth of things, right? Like the truth will set you free, but a lot of people think, or a lot of people, but I shouldn't say a lot of people, but the powers that aren't, and in comic book world and in this world like to be gatekeepers of certain truths, right? Because it's a level of like, well, you're not strong enough, or you're not capable of dealing with what that would mean, so we'll hide things from you, like our government with things, or I'll say all government. It's not specific to one government. Like even when I used to work in corporate, right? Yeah, so like in that sense, when you're playing politics, it would make sense that the Green Lanterns, even though, like, let's say you are one Green Lantern, and this is why Sinestro defects, why there's Abin, who's like the original Green Lantern, also is like, we need to be able to ask questions, right? Because otherwise you end up just being part of a cult. I hide my responsibilities. Yeah, so you know what though, like, there is something to be said for playing the corporate game, right? There's a level of, I was waiting for that little tag there of get info in Canada's federal election. Oh my gosh, I'm not here to like tell you how to vote or how to live your life or any of that kind of stuff. I'm here to share stories with you. Oh, it's cutthroat. You know, West Coast crypto, good for you though. I got out of crypto. It's so funny too. The crypto thing as well. That's something we can talk about, because money and resources, education, justice, liberty, freedom, these are all just words until you give meaning to them. And how you give meaning to them is through story, right? And the Green Lanterns and their whole lore is a beautiful one, because they bring meaning to words that are subscribed to things like emotions, right? When you're talking about love, will, rage, compassion, hope, these are very effervescent, non-tangible things, but we know that they're real. So how are we able to speak about them? Yeah, you write fantastical stories. You have symbols, right? You tell stories that it's not like having a PowerPoint presentation about like, well, this is what willpower is, and this is how you harness your willpower against fear, right? My favorite Lantern Kirk is Hal Jordan, and it's because he goes through this whole arc where he becomes a villain, right? Because he lets fear and parallax take him over, and he has to work through that and go through a redemption arc and pull yourself back. Yes, jealousy, envy, hate. And I mean, when I worked in corporate, I have a lot of old letters from because I used to be a boss too, right? Like I had oh, it was the worst thing. I actually was so stressed out when I got my like promotion and I ended up being a manager, because I'm like, oh my gosh, now I have to be in charge of things like raises, and like I had to fire someone once, and like these are all like the hard things. Like when you end up with higher responsibilities, it also means like you have to take that on. Wow, good for you, West Coast. I being a manager is no easy, like it's kind of like being a superhero captain. You know, you have to keep track of everybody. You have to like know what everyone's skills are, like how to motivate people, and then you also have to keep like the higher ups at bay, right? Oh my god! Oh my gosh! I think it's because comic books is a way of encoding social commentary without to get it through the censorship, right, Michael? Like that's what all good art does. Like art is here to change the world. Yes, and higher ups even stronger. Yeah, I'll tell you guys some stories about KPMG. I used to work at KPMG and I used to work at UHN. So Toronto, not Toronto General Hospital. My offices were there, but we worked for an incubator, which was like, we dealt with all of the primary chronic diseases in Canada. So I worked with diabetes a lot. So Frederick Banting, actually, from Toronto, discovered insulin, right? But there's, it's me versus 100. Oh, yeah. And you try to do your best to protect your team and do the right thing and do the work. And like, as I said, though, like it's good managers in there, good bosses, you're doing the work. Because your job, your career, all of that, like, don't lose yourself in it. That's all I'll say about it. Like, Oh, I got that vibe from you because I used to be a project manager too, right? And so it's crazy. Like sometimes you end up with people who are like not technical trying to tell people who are very technical how to do their jobs. Like it's so crazy, especially in like in the tech sector and like healthcare, like especially healthcare, because you'll end up with like doctors who are very smart, right? But they're endocrinologists. Those are not the same things as being able to know how to code like systems and systems engineering. So it's like being aware of what you don't know and like leaning on your team and trusting your team when they've proven themselves to you, right? And good for you, West Coast Crypto. Thanks for that. And I'm sure your teams appreciate you for that. It's so needed. You have like, for me, when I was working in corporate, I could put up with a lot of ish if my boss was awesome. And I had a great boss at KPMG. And when she moved, I was like, probably time for me to go, right? Because more than anything, when I was working, the people I was working with mattered the most. And that's why I read these comic books to you guys, because it has always been such a lovely surprise to me how much these stories have meant to me, and when I share them with you, how much they mean to you too. And then when you know the same stories and you know the same characters, I'm like, oh my gosh, were we friends in a past life? Or there's some stuff there with it. I'm not entirely sure how this all works, the magic of synchronicity and all that kind of stuff. But I do know in my heart of hearts, I have my own prophecies about what would happen when I turned 40 and what the world would be like. And I have good news about it. And I do really think that us as human beings, as brothers and sisters of this planet Earth, it's time. It's time for you to be exactly who you're supposed to be, whatever that looks like. And the world will change and shift to accommodate that, because we're the Earth, and we're in sync with her, right? And so as she is rising to that higher vibration, we are too. And we're coming along for the ride. It's going to feel really, really crazy. And that's why it helps to look to some of these heroes and stuff. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But you know what? I love it. I'm really embracing it. And I think I'm here to also just redefine the whole aging thing. People are so scared of like aging and death and mortality and all this kind of stuff. Like, oh my gosh, instead of worrying about it, try living. Make this, it's a ride. It's a wild ride, and it's amazing. We are so blessed to have this perfect technology of this body. We are so blessed to be able to like live on this planet. And even though things can get a little crazy sometimes, and even though like we are dealing with some stuff when it comes to like the greater political stage, the greater reality construct, let's call it that, I have great hope in humanity, in imagination, in beauty, in art, and all the good things that make life worth living. So thank you guys for joining us. Oh, 82. You're Pluto in Libra, but we should talk about that, the generations, because it's kind of like consciousness as a flock of birds. And there's a level of like, we're so much more connected than we think, but you are also unique and you, right? So this is push and pull between that. Michael, I've told myself I'm going to age with grace and dignity, and generally have been. Too many. I love the experience that I now have, but I've also had to do a lot of work in terms of this version of myself being kinder and forgiving my younger self, right? Because we can be so hard on our younger selves, right? For making stupid decisions, for like loving the wrong people, for being had, for being betrayed. So we can be so hard on them, but you know what? You wouldn't be who you are now if you didn't make all those mistakes, or you didn't go through what you went through, or had those relationships and those hard lessons, because it is all that's needed for you to come to this certain level of like, oh wait, I'm perfect just the way I am. It's like that book, The Alchemist, right? You go on that whole journey just to come back to home. West Coast Crypto, we will do some astro tomorrow, so I'll put a note in that about your birthday as well. So it's been so interesting with people I've connected on here with like how it's been so trippy, how synchronistic life has been lately. All right, guys, thank you so much. So giving my younger self a break. That's it. Like, and also honoring the dreams of your younger self, right? Like all the things that like 14-year-old me said that I would do by the time I was like 40. I'm like, oh shoot, I have like 2 weeks left. How was this to make a comic book and then go to Comic-Con with my own cosplay, that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, Michael, I love that. Thank you for dropping some wisdom in the chat. That's good. I love, because that's why I do cosplay. And I love it and it's so funny, whenever you start to do you and like you're right on track with your soul's mission, you're always going to get the naysayers. You're always going to be people like, why are you doing that? Like, who do you think you are? Like, well, I know who I am. Do you know who you are? That's the better question. So I welcome you guys to settling into you, being exactly you in this game of life, because the universe is counting on you. But no worries, I have got your back. Just hold the line. Okay, guys, have a wonderful evening. I know it's like late, but I'm glad I got through a lot of Blackest Night. We will return to Blackest Night in the future. And tomorrow we'll do some Astro, as well as April O'Neil will be back. And I have the last Ronin for the comic book read. So that'll be great, because the Ninja Turtles and Turtles have a whole bunch of meaning to it as well. All right. Thanks, James. Have a good night. Good night, West Coast Crypto. And good night, Michael. And yeah, nice meeting you as well. And thanks all of you guys for all of your vibes tonight. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. That's all I got to say. Bye.